Bahrain Grand Prix will surely give the Tifosi reasons to be happy. What a start of the season it was for the Ferrari F1 team. Leclerc and Sainz surely deserve to be at the front. Though this goes far beyond than just the Ferrari F1 team proper. This story was being written in the preseason where the car was shown to have great potential and that Ferrari might have found the path to glory that they have been missing for so long. Qualification showed interesting stories. Red Bull had great pace as expected, Mercedes was struggling and did struggle up until the end of the race. Haas with K-Mag had an excellent performance with the 7th place start. We are talking about the driver that was replaced by Mazepin and was out of F1 ride for over a year. Talk about a comeback. But this was not all. All the Ferrari client cars were doing quite well. Bottas was able to secure even a 6th position, and the Mercedes cars weren't able to get better than a 5th and a 9th for Hamilton and Russell respectively. All things were suiting up to become a Ferrari family landslide, a Red Bull at the front, and a disaster for Mercedes. The Mercedes car from the very beginning was demonstrating a lot of technical problems, from suspension setup, porpoising, and outright straight line speed issues. Some were dissing it as a sandbagging technique from Mercedes like they did it in previous years, though this start of the season is saying it as otherwise. The engine seems to be a contention point for Mercedes as all client cars were an absolute disaster with the back grid being almost exclusively packed with Mercedes-powered cars. As the race started, Bottas had an horrible one, lost the 6th position being dropped to somewhere around 14th. Magnussen was super cheeky and got a few positions for a while. Hamilton was able to secure a 4th position for at least a few laps until Perez basically rolled him over. And the story at the front really is Leclerc. What a composed drive. It did help that the Ferrari's car performance was brilliant, but his start was fantastic and was able to outdrive and outmatch Verstappen at every point in the race, including in all undercut attempts. There were a few Red Bull DRS overtake attempts that always resulted in Ferrari being able to get the place back with a bigger differential every single time. Once the DRS window vanished for Red Bull, Leclerc controlled the pace, maintained tires, and doing so was still able to get away from Verstappen in a decisive fashion. Though there was more to this race than just the front, of course. McLaren bombed in a spectacular fashion, much due to their Mercedes engine. In certain laps, they were over 3 seconds slower per lap. Albon in a Williams was able to outperform the Mercedes-powered car by a great margin, so it was a really great start from him. The top 10 area was rife with battles between Alfa, Alpine, and Haas, at least giving the impression that the fights in the middle field are going to be very intense and common. However, the story of course doesn't finish here. First of all, Verstappen was complaining about issues in the steering wheel after pit stop. Steering wheel was off, and this made Verstappen lose his composure somewhat. After the race, it was found out that one of the connecting rods was bent due to an unsafe release. Then, after a catastrophic failure from Gasly's AlphaTauri, much due to a power unit, a yellow flag was raised, allowing Leclerc to get a new set of tires. With this yellow flag, we learned at the restart that any lapped car meant indeed all lapped cars. It was really good to learn this so soon after the last race of the season last year. At the restart, everything started to go wrong for the Red Bulls. Verstappen had a critical car malfunction that made him roll to the pits. All power went off. Then on the last lap, similar happened to Perez at T1. Basically, the engine stopped, which locked the rear tires and gave him a spin. This gave Ferrari the first 1-2 of the season and somewhat showing what is likely to happen in terms of fights during this year. Mercedes beforehand could do a thing, keeping up with the Red Bulls, let alone with the Ferraris. They were handed a 3rd position for Hamilton and a 4th for Russell in a platter. Much will need to improve for Mercedes. Red Bull powered cars retired 3 out of 4 of them, but the most fantastic story is that was able to get a 5th position, a wonderful start of the season after 2 years of despair for them. An absolutely tremendous drive from Kevin Magnussen and also from Mick Schumacher. Also a big shout out to Alfa with Bottas finishing 6th and Zhou with an amazing debut at Formula 1 landing a 10th. This is just the start of the season, though the new rules are bound to shake things up a bit. But what are your opinions on the race? Let us know in the comments.